happening? The wind on my barnet today is going mental, so currently my hair's all over my eyes, but let's just crack on. Sometimes when I'm out and about and in a place that isn't home, that isn't Essex, that isn't where I'm from, I feel sort of subject to the typical Essex stereotype. And for me, I don't particularly feel that I fit into this stereotype that sort of, when I meet someone new abroad or when I was at university, you go, where are you from? And then I go, yeah, I'm from Essex. And then immediately they've got that immediate perception of me as a typical Essex guy, where unfortunately we've got a reputation. But for me, I don't think that I fit into this mould of the Essex person. So today I'm gonna break down to how am I gonna go about breaking this stereotype in my interactions. How am I fine from being from here? Well, I'm quite happy being from Essex. I quite like exactly where I live right now. I'm quite happy, but I just sort of don't like the immediate perception that we're given. So how do I find where I'm from? How do I challenge the stereotype? And how do I live and overcome the stereotype to sort of live the best life and sort of make sure that when people meet me, they don't get that assumption that I'm the typical Essex guy, because I don't think I am. So owning where I'm from, obviously, like I've said, I'm from Essex, and I'm proud of being from here. And that's where, like, I was born. That's where my mum's from. That's where my accent comes from, and it's part of my identity. But it doesn't define who I fully am as a human being. Essex, as a county, it doesn't limit me to sort of how I want to go about seeing the rest of the world. It's just where I'm from. And it's how, like I said, it's how I would introduce myself to anyone that wasn't from here. How can we sort of challenge this stereotype? Or you also might find it as well, where you're like me, you're from somewhere which has like a name. Like another one I can think of the top of my head is the Brummies, the Birmingham folk, where we've all got a perception of certain places around the country that are either grim or chavvy or, do you know what I mean? One of them things. And it's just about how you can break that stereotype. The Essex stereotype, for me, as a sort of what I see people commenting on, is how, like, we're quite over the top, loud, flash, and like to heavily party, which for me is quite a justified point of view. But not all of us are like this. The thing that I feel is that if I introduce myself, people would expect me to behave in a certain way just because of where I've been brought up. But like I said, I want to sort of challenge this expectation in life, because I don't think that I fit the whole image of the county of Essex. Like I said, my mum was from Aveley in Essex, or local to where I'm at now. My dad's from West London. But the thing is, this upbringing has shaped me, where, yes, my mum's from Essex, but she also lived in Hong Kong for loads of her childhood. And really, I would say none of us in my family are like trying to live into this stereotype of the Essex person. I think I was raised with sort of the more family focused values rather than that party mentality. And whilst people like in Essex like being proactive and going out often and having a great time, I quite like the slow pace of life, where I'm not trying to rush into anything, get everything done straight away, where I'm just sort of, I like thinking about the possibilities of, if I keep chipping away slowly, I'll get to somewhere bigger one day, somewhere where I'm happy that I'm going to be at. And And for me, I don't think that my future home will be in Essex. Whilst right now I call it home, I potentially see my future outside of Essex, because I think my experience from Essex, rather than one of perception of others, is different. I see Essex how I've seen it my whole life, where I've gone to school with different groups of people, and I've picked and selected different groups of friends, all that sort of like, some playing stereotypes, some that don't. And like I said, I've done it, and I can see why people have the perception. But for me, I don't believe that I carry it, apart from the accent. And I think for me, whilst some people would like the attachment of Essex and going like, yeah, do you know what, my life's actually here. Home for life is me in Essex. But for me, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. And I'm not even saying this is like an abroad place. I could see myself living further down south, or on the coast, or Norfolk, or up north, or in Wales, or in Ireland. I can just see that happening. And I'm not focusing my goals around living here in the future. I'm sort of going to sort of push the boundaries and go, where can I make my new home, to make my new family and make my new life. Like, I don't want to be stuck here. I want to see the world, and I want to sort of potentially find that attachment to a location somewhere else that isn't Essex. So how can I challenge the assumption of the stereotype? Like I said, when I was at uni, when I went, yeah, do you know what, I'm Ben, I'm from Essex, but nice to meet you. You're put into that box straight away of, oh, we've got another Essex boy. We've got another Essex boy, haven't we? But I think people have missed the complexities of who I am. They just look at me and go, Ben from Essex. That would be, if you met 100 people at uni and you met multiple Bens, you would put my contact name as Ben-Essex, because you know me, you know where I'm from, you know who I am at the end of the day. That's what you get. You get the accent and the first greeting, rather than actually getting into who I actually am as a person. Sometimes the stereotype of an Essex person is that, like, sometimes people might think we're a bit thick, and whilst you could potentially agree with that, with some decisions and problems that go down this county, you can understand that. But for me, I don't think the Essex label diminishes my intellect or my mentality. That I'm not looking at inward goals of this county. I'm looking at outward of how I can sort of expand my life and sort of, like I said, move. I've got aspirations, I've got the struggles of life, and I've got the passion, which has all gone beyond that label of being an Essex lad, where I've got bigger goals than just sort of living here and living the same life that I've lived for 22 years. Because really, like, in my head, life goes to 100, because you've got to be optimistic that you're going to live that long, especially with the potentially rising healthcare that we're getting. So in my head, I've got 100 years to live, and I've lived a fifth of that already, which is crazy. And it's like, do I want to live here forever when there's a whole world out there? No. So why would I keep my goals here when the foundations need to be built here, but the future progression could be somewhere else? How do I live with this stereotype that I've carried my whole life? Like I said, living with it, people limit you to one version of yourself, and it stops people sometimes from seeing their own potential. It's like, I know the sort of highest level of life that I'm going to get living here. I don't know anywhere else, because I haven't explored it. And that's the thing. You can understand people wanting to live their whole life, and I respect it as well. But I think sometimes you don't, by just staying, I'm going to stay here because I'm happy, you haven't yet explored the rest of the world. And the thing is, you have to look at people beyond this surfaced level in conversation of, he's from Essex. Because yes, I am. But I'm also Ben from Essex. I'm not just from Essex. I've got a whole complexity and personality and a characteristic base that is me. And I think another important thing is that there's a we're having a stereotype. We're living in a location heavily driven by a stereotype. Is that we can build a power of authenticity and showing off our authentic self. It lets people see all the sides of you. Sometimes it's the ones that you hide. Sometimes it's the one that people are yet to explore. But it's all the ones that you knew about all the time. And what it does by being authentic in your hometown, in Cambodia, at a bar, when you've introduced yourself as an Essex boy, because even people abroad know where Essex in England is. It's just the name we have. Being authentic in the moment, it lets the new people decide what version of you they want to see. Do they want to see the stereotype, or do they want to understand and get to know the actual person that they're talking to? The more we embrace our authentic self, our full selves, the more we'll allow others to do the same and not put this perception on us straight away.